Good morning. If you've been watching my other videos, you've seen that I recently hit 90,000 miles on my 2011 Toyota Land Cruiser 200 series, and so now it's time to do some servicing. I've done the front and rear differentials, changed the oil, and I still need to do the center differential or transfer case, whatever you like to call it. This morning I drove a couple of miles in 4 low to get the gear oil nice and warm, so when we drain it we can make sure we get everything. So make sure your gear oil is warm when you do this, or you're not going to get it all out. The tools we're going to need a couple of ratchets, a torque wrench, a metric socket set. You're going to be using a 24 millimeter socket, a 14 millimeter socket, and a 12 millimeter socket. We're going to be using I'm using a 75-90 Mobil 1 full synthetic oil. We're going to be using a little less than 1.5 quarts, around 1.2 quarts. You'll also need an oil pump, one of those little plastic pumps that goes on top of the quart bottle, because we're not going to be able to access the fill plug hole with the bottle itself. We'll have to pump it up through the top, so make sure you have one of those on hand. You'll see it later in the video. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you want to do is crawl underneath the truck. I'm on the driver's side, about halfway between the front and rear differentials, and locate the transfer case. The transfer case is this big silver thing right here, and this big black thing right here is called the transfer dynamic damper, and then you've got this plate right here that kind of goes along the bottom and the sides. That's called the lower transfer case protector. What we're going to do first is we're going to remove these two bolts right here. I believe these are 14 millimeter bolts that are holding the transfer dynamic damper on. So I'm going to go ahead and get those started. So I've got my air compressor running in the background, and then that comes off once you take the screws off. That was not very graceful. Okay, we've just removed the transfer case dynamic damper. Okay, this is going to be hard to show, but I am now underneath the truck looking towards the front of the vehicle. So we're looking at the back side of the transfer case here. We need to remove the transfer case heat insulator now. It's held on by four, I believe these are 12 millimeter. Yeah, 12 millimeter bolts. You've got one on the back, one here on the side. I'm gonna go underneath it a little bit. One here at the top, right there, sorry. And then up here by the exhaust pipe, follow that, right there. So we're gonna take these 4 bolts out, and we're gonna be able to remove the transfer case heat insulator plate. After you remove the transfer heat insulator plate and the 4 bolts retaining it, put it to the side. Here we are looking at the back of the transfer case now. This is the lower transfer case protector. There are 7 bolts, all 12 millimeter, holding it in place. We're gonna have to remove each one. So I'm gonna try and show you where they all are. You can see a couple right here. You've got 1, 2, there's one way up high up here. Let me see if I can get the camera. Let's see, 3. Now we're going to kind of work our way around it a little bit. 4, we're still on the back side here. Now we're going to move to the front. We're actually underneath it right now. 5, 6, 7. So remove these 7 bolts, and we can go ahead after that and get the drain plugs taken out. One thing I'd like to clarify in that previous little clip is I pointed to that bolt. Let me see. Pointed to this bolt up here as, I think, number 3. I wasn't paying attention. It's really that one right there. But you'll see. I mean, just follow lower transfer case protector. You'll see it goes to right there. Here we are looking at the back of this of the lower transfer case cover. I removed all 7 bolts. The next step is to kind of move it out of the way a little bit, and you'll see there's a ground wire here. You will stick a screwdriver under that tab and it will slide off. I'm not going to be able to do it with one hand and film, but you'll need to remove this little plastic clip, and then the lower transfer case cover will be able to be removed at that point. After removing the grounding wire from the tab, take your lower transfer case cover and the 7 12mm bolts with captive nuts and set them aside. Here we are looking at the back side of the transfer case, looking towards the front of the car this way. And I want to point out 2 bolts we're going to be going with. This one here is your fill plug, and this is your drain plug. Both of them are 24mm. We're going to remove the upper fill plug first, and then we are going to get our oil pan or some kind of catch underneath this, and we're going to loosen and remove the lower drain plug, and it's at that point that our oil will come out. We also want to make sure that we don't lose the copper O-ring that's behind this plug, because we're going to reuse it when we torque it back down when we're done. So go ahead and remove this 24mm fill plug right now. Okay, so here's the top plug. I've loosened it with my ratchet. Take it out. Got a little bit of dripping. That's normal. Make sure you keep the O-ring. It looks pretty clean. And we're going to go ahead and do the bottom one now. We're now going to remove the lower drain plug. I loosened it with my 24mm socket. I'm going to take it out by hand. Now see, I want to keep that O-ring on there. Don't forget to have your oil pan underneath you to catch all this. So go on and take it out. Oil looks nice and clean. After you remove the lower drain plug, allow the oil to drain for 5 to 10 minutes or until it stopped dripping. Okay, so we've been draining for a few minutes. Got a couple little drops of residual oil, but we're good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and insert the lower drain plug back in by hand. We're gonna clean this all up when we're done. Get it hand tight. We're now gonna torque it to spec. This one is going to be 27 foot-pounds of torque. And I'm doing this all with one hand, so bear with me. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Now I've got my oil ready. Remember, I'm going to use about 1.2 quarts of oil. I'm using 75 weight 90. And you will have to have one of these pumps I was talking about with the vinyl tube on it. Back under the truck, we're going to take this vinyl tube, we're going to put it into the filler hole up here. And this is always hard to do because you're working over your head, it's painful. And what I like to do is find something flat I can press the cap up against here and just push the bottle up. You're going to do this, do a full quart, and then those last 0.2 we're going to slow down, and we're going to wait for the oil to slowly drip out of the fill hole up there. We're still pumping. I'm getting closer to 1.2 quarts. We're waiting for oil to come out of this upper fill plug. And when it does, we'll know we have enough. Look at that, there it is. That's what we're looking for. We're going to take our fill plug now and we're going to insert it and tighten it by hand. If I can get the thread started. It's 27 degrees here, so I can't really feel my fingers too well. I'm working outside. All right, now we're going to torque it down. Got our torque wrench on, set to 27 foot-pounds. 1, 2, 3. Now that everything's torqued down, we're gonna clean everything up with a rag. Get all that extra oil off. Let's get the bottom one too. We are now going to reinstall the lower transfer case cover here and the 7 bolts holding it in place. Don't forget to clip the grounding wire back on the tab while you're down there. After you've installed the lower transfer case protector, remember there were 7 bolts. Each of those bolts were 10 foot-pounds of torque. We're going to go ahead and install the transfer case heat insulator here. And remember, there are 4 bolts holding that in place. We're going to torque each one of these bolts to 22 foot-pounds of torque. So go ahead and do that now. After you've got the bolts pretty tight with the heat insulator, we're going to torque each bolt to 22 foot-pounds. One more up here. You can see up at the top. I'm going to do that one now with an extension. I'm not going to be able to do a video of it. The last step is to install the transfer case dynamic damper. Remember, the notch goes on the bottom. Let me get these hand tightened. Okay, and now we're going to torque these down to only 9 foot-pounds of torque. That's 9 foot-pounds, not a lot. Torque them down. 1, 2, 3. One, 2, 3. And that is the end of this video. We have now successfully changed the transfer case oil. Thank you for watching my channel. Good luck.